Hi, my name is Scott. I'm here today to teach you how to perform an annual service maintenance on your Aqua-Hot 450D. Before we dive in, we want to thank you for choosing an RV with an Aqua-Hot on board. The Aqua-Hot is a hydronic heating system which transfers heat as liquid loops around a closed system of pipes wrapped around a boiler, which works as both your furnace and your water heater by using the diesel fuel in your tank. Hydronic heating trumps conventional heating in a number of ways. It heats your motorhome evenly, it supplies unlimited hot water, it's very efficient, and it adds thousands of dollars to the value of the motorhome. Please refer to your owner's manual or find the manual for your model in the document library on Aqua-Hot's website. Now, you'll also want to make sure you have your Aqua-Hot annual service kit, which includes specialty parts and tools you will need for the annual service maintenance. Each kit includes a fuel filter, a diesel nozzle, an electrode adjustment tool, a burner gasket, a portable refractometer, and 1 quart of concentrated boiler antifreeze. If you've already used your annual service kit in the past, all of the parts can be ordered individually through Aqua-Hot, so please make sure you have all of the replacement parts needed for annual service, such as the fuel nozzle, the fuel filter, the combustion chamber gasket, and the antifreeze. Some additional tools you will need can be found at your local hardware store, and you may even have some of these in your own toolbox already. Please make sure you are using high-quality tools to avoid any damage that cheaper tools may cause. The additional tools you will need are a 1/4-inch ratchet, a 10-inch extension for the ratchet, a 7/16 socket, a 10mm socket, a 5/8-inch boxed-in wrench, a 3/4-inch boxed-in wrench, an 11mm wrench for the fuel lines, as well as a 9/16 wrench for the fuel lines, a Phillips head screwdriver, a long-handled wire brush, and 2 pinch-off pliers, which these pinch-off pliers are usually better found at larger auto parts stores rather than a hardware store. Finally, it's also a good idea to have a few dry rags, 1 or 2 gallon-sized zip-seal plastic bags, and a pair of gloves so you can avoid getting your hands too dirty. Okay, so with your annual service kit and your tools in hand, let's get started. You'll want to start inside your coach and turn on your Aqua-Hot for a test run. This provides a baseline on how the heater operates before and after the service. Once the burner has been activated, let it run for 2 minutes and then shut it down. Operate the heater first to determine if the heater works properly. This ensures any issues with the heater are not attributed to the annual service work you are about to perform. Turn the burner switch on and let it run long enough to inspect the exhaust pipe to make sure the burner is operating properly. If the heater is already hot, you may have to run the interior heat or turn on the hot water before the burner will fire. You'll need to make sure that the burner is firing. Remember folks, before beginning any annual service, always be sure to disconnect all power and allow the unit to cool to avoid damage and personal injury. So go ahead and shut off the diesel burner by switching the Aqua-Hot to off in the coach. Okay, now let's move on to replacing your Aqua-Hot filter. Start by pinching off the fuel lines with the hose pinch-off pliers. Then remove the old fuel filter. We recommend using a gallon-sized plastic zip-seal bag to catch any fuel in the filter so it won't drip into the bay. Now install the replacement filter. Make sure you pre-fill the filter with fuel. Otherwise, it takes several burner activation cycles to fill it. After that, remove the pinch-off pliers. Keep in mind that if you don't remove the pinch-off pliers, it will blow the seal in the fuel pump. And you don't want to do that. Okay, now let's run the burner again, just like the first time. This action purges the air from the fuel system and removes old fuel from the nozzle area. Let the system run for 3 minutes to make sure it cycles up properly. Then, after letting the system run for 3 minutes, you will now shut off the burner again, just like the first time. With the Aqua-Hot unit switched off in the coach, now we'll move on to removing the cover from the Aqua-Hot. That's going to require your 7/16 socket. There's 3 bolts, 2 at the top, 1 at the front. Once you have your bolts removed, it's time to remove the cover. Now you're going to want to set this down in a safe space so it doesn't get damaged. Now we have access to disconnect the controller box. We'll start by unplugging both the B and the C plug from the controller. The controller, as you see, just slides out. It's very important to unplug the controller. With the controller unplugged, there's no way the burner can fire. We recommend you start by using pinch-off pliers on the fuel lines outside of the cabinet. Then, disconnect the steel fuel lines inside the cabinet. This is where we recommend you use the 11mm and the 9/16 wrenches. Be careful here, because when loosening the steel fuel lines inside of the cabinet, fuel may drip into the cabinet, which is why pinching off the fuel lines outside of the cabinet helps avoid excessive fuel spills. Once that's done, you will now loosen 2 eye bolts holding the burner to the heater. Here, you will want to use a 10mm socket with a 10-inch extension so you can reach the 2 eye bolts. You'll find one in the 1 o'clock position and the other in the 7 o'clock position. Once loosened, swing the bolts away, slowly pull back on the burner and rotate the burner 90 degrees so the nozzle is facing up. Note, there will be fuel in the fuel lines. Take care not to spill the fuel into the cabinet or bay. Okay, now let's talk about removing your combustion chamber. First, you'll remove the swirler by pulling it straight out. In theory, you'll be able to put your finger in the hole and just pull out the swirler. Now, a word of caution. Remember, the burner just ran 2 times. It may be extremely hot. Be sure to use a glove or a dry rag. Do not pull on the swirler with pliers. This will cause damage to the air swirler where the photo disc sits. And then the heater will produce black smoke in the exhaust. If the swirler is stuck, which it shouldn't be if you're doing your maintenance annually, the easiest way to remove it is to pull it out with a hook slide hammer, also known as an auto body dent puller. You can get this at your local auto parts store. Just be very careful, and when in doubt, call your RV service center to book an appointment to have a factory-trained technician look at it for you. Next, we'll need to clean and inspect the swirler. Inspect the outer ring for signs of warping aluminum. If you do see signs of warping, then we recommend you contact us at Aqua-Hot and we can help you order a new swirler. If everything looks good, it's time to remove the combustion chamber. To pull the combustion chamber out, we'll need to remove the 4 bolts on the combustion chamber plate attaching it to the tank. Pull the combustion chamber straight out, being careful not to damage the combustion chamber gasket. If the gasket gets damaged, it will need to be replaced. Inspect the steel tube for cracks. Normally, the chamber will look brand new with very little carbon buildup. If you have carbon buildup, clean it with a rag or a steel brush. Servicing your Aqua-Hot annually will prevent carbon buildup in the future. With the combustion chamber removed and inspected, you will now move on to cleaning the heat transfer tabs with a long-handled wire brush. When you're brushing out the tabs, you can remove the debris with a wet-dry vacuum. The soot can make a real mess that can be hard to clean up, so using a wet-dry vac will help you here. We do not recommend blowing the soot out of the tailpipe. This could lead to blockage in the exhaust pipe, which makes one heck of a mess. Once your combustion chamber is inspected and your heat transfer tabs are nice and clean, you'll reinstall the combustion chamber, the gasket, and the swirler. To do this, piece these parts back together and slide the combustion chamber in and reinstall the nuts, holding the chamber in place. Keep in mind, folks, if you forget to install the combustion chamber and swirler, the flame will hit the back wall of your Aqua-Hot and melt everything onto the burner. If that happens, it can cost about $1,000 to replace all these parts. So be careful here and double check your steps. Now it's time to inspect the burner and its components. Let's start by inspecting the burner. The burner typically looks brand new, so inspecting it should only take a few seconds. Next, we'll check the fuel pump. I expect to see a little bit of fuel on the photo disc or on top of the fuel pump. But if everything is saturated with fuel, then there is a good chance the fuel pump is leaking. If you have a fuel pressure gauge, you can replace the nozzle with the gauge and run the burner to look for leaks. Now, looking at the fuel nozzle, the nozzle will need to be replaced, but it still should be inspected for carbon buildup. We'll replace the nozzle last. Then, moving on to checking the electrodes, make sure the electrodes are not cracked or damaged. Clean the tips with a scrubbing pad to remove carbon buildup. And then, looking at the flame sensor, also known as the photo eye, 1. Make sure it is not cracked, damaged, or overheated. 2. Make sure the wires are not damaged. And 3. Spray with a household cleaner or brake cleaner and wipe clean. After that, check the rubber grommets. Make sure they are not hard and brittle. Note that there is a left one and a right one. Make sure the rubber has not been cut out because it will allow too much air to escape and cause black smoke. Now, go ahead and check the harness. Check for signs of damage. Bare wires, hard or brittle wires, or pinched wires. Have the harness replaced by your local RV service center if needed. And finally, inspect the ears. Inspect them both inside and out for any cracks. If damage is found, do not try to fix it. Contact us at Aqua-Hot for the best solution to this or any other problems you see or concerns you have with your Aqua-Hot. After that thorough inspection of the burner components, now it's time to replace the fuel nozzle. It's a good idea to wait and change the nozzle as the last step when working with the burner because it's very easy to damage a nozzle by bumping it or getting damaging debris into the unit. Loosen and remove the old nozzle. Now throw that nozzle away and then install the new nozzle with your 2 wrenches. The nozzle needs to be seated correctly, so use your 2 wrenches to tighten the new nozzle. Loosen it and then retighten. Failure to do this will cause fuel to leak between the fuel tower and the nozzle. Now let's talk about checking and adjusting the electrodes on the unit. You'll want to use the gauge provided in your annual service kit or the gauge that's on the burner. With the gauge in place correctly, you want to make sure the gauge is touching the tip of the nozzle. The electrodes should lay in the V-grooves. If you run your finger over the gauge and you can feel the electrodes poking you, they are too high. This can cause blue or white smoking. If the electrodes are too low, they will cause intermittent operation because they will not always spark. You want to make sure your electrodes are sitting just right. You should be able to feel the electrodes without getting poked by their tips. To adjust electrodes, use your 10mm socket to move the electrodes around. Again, in correct position, you will be able to feel them, but not get poked by them. And now, reassembling your Aqua-Hot 450D. Reinstall the burner head to the combustion chamber, being careful not to bump the electrodes. And then swing the bolts back and tighten the eye nuts. And make sure you do not over-tighten. That is why we use the 1/4-inch ratchet, so you do not accidentally over-tighten and break the bolts. If you have a torque wrench, 10 inch-pounds is the maximum. Next, you'll reconnect the fuel lines. Now, plug in the controller. Then, place the cover back on and screw in the 3 screws to close your Aqua-Hot. Now, cycle the Aqua-Hot. You may have to cycle it a couple of times before it lights to get all of the air out of the system. Once it's running, Let it operate until it shuts off with no failure reported. This way, you know you ran your Aqua-Hot all the way up to temperature. Now it's time to check your antifreeze solution. Unscrew the top of the expansion bottle and use the eyedropper that comes with your refractometer to gather some antifreeze solution. Drop it onto your refractometer and it should read anywhere between 35 and 50%. If it's a little low, add more propylene glycol. If it's a little high, add more distilled water. You can either use 1 gallon pre-mixed 37% propylene glycol or 1 quart concentrate 98% propylene glycol mixed with distilled water to reach that 35 to 50% solution. Please note that number 1, only propylene glycol based boiler type antifreeze deemed GROS, generally recognized as safe by the FDA, should be used in your Aqua-Hot. Number 2, take caution. Failure to use this specified antifreeze could result in serious injury or death. And number 3, be sure to check the unit you are working on to determine whether it uses green or pink antifreeze, and continue to use that color. Okay, once everything is reinstalled and your Aqua-Hot is closed up, you'll want to run the Aqua-Hot again to make sure everything is still working. Head into your coach and switch the Aqua-Hot to on. Let it run a few minutes and make sure you're getting heat and hot water. Now we're to the point we're going to check the antifreeze level. We fired up the Aqua-Hot system, brought it up to operating temperature. It's now shut off, the fan is shut off. Now is when we check the expansion bottle. This here is a little bit shy, so we're going to add some antifreeze and bring it up to the hot line. And that's it. We've just completed our Aqua-Hot 450D's annual service maintenance. With proper maintenance, your Aqua-Hot will last you for years to come. So wherever you go, you'll get the warm feeling of home. Thank you for watching.